Hi everyone, I hope you are doing well. In this video we are going to see some interesting questions around Apex triggers. So it is going to cover some important concepts. So do watch this video if you are an admin or if you are a developer. This is going to be helpful for you. So the first question is, you wrote a trigger on the contact object that creates a log entry whenever a contact is deleted. It works fine when you delete a contact manually, but when you delete an account, all its related contacts are also deleted and your trigger does not run for those contacts. So basically you have a trigger on contact, but it's running only when you delete a contact manually, but when you try to delete an account, then it's not running for those contacts which are getting deleted. So the question is, why does your trigger not run when the account is deleted, and how can you ensure that all contact deletions are logged even if they are through account? Okay, so basically this question is about why the trigger on child object is not getting triggered if the parent object record gets deleted. Okay, so the answer is, trigger does not run when the account is deleted because the cascading delete operations do not invoke triggers on child records. This is very important concept. Cascading delete operations do not invoke triggers on the child records. So whenever your account is deleted, all related contacts are going to get deleted, but these contacts do not initiate delete operation by themselves. Okay, so basically they were deleted as a result of what? Account deletion. So the cascading deletes do not fire triggers on child records. The after trigger on the contact does not execute. That's why it does not execute. Okay, so basically if you want to log those contact deletions, then you just query all the related contacts before they are deleted in after delete trigger of the account, and then add something in the log object. So this question can be converted for any other parent object or child object pair. So you can just give the same answer if you know the concept. If the parent is getting deleted, the trigger is not going to invoke for child record. The cascading delete will not invoke the triggers. Simple. Okay. Then the second question is, you created a trigger on the case object to track changes whenever the owner ID field is updated. It works when you change the owner manually, but when duplicate contacts are merged, okay, now when duplicate contacts are merged, as a result, again the related cases automatically get reassigned to the surviving contact. Okay, basically it is changing the owner ID field. Try to understand. Getting assigned to surviving contact means the owner ID field is getting updated. Simple. Now the problem is your trigger does not run. You have a trigger on the case for that. When the owner ID is getting updated, you have a trigger, but that trigger is not running after merging duplicate contacts. Now the question is, why does your trigger not track these owner changes after merge, and how can you capture such automatic updates? Very interesting and very tricky questions. So this video is covering a lot of important concepts, and if you are finding it helpful, please drop down the comments and like this video. Again the same concept here. The answer is, your trigger does not track the owner changes after a merge because, again, cascading updates resulting from merge operation do not invoke triggers on the reparented child records. So here the child record is case. Okay, now case is reparented when the contact is merged, but the main operation was performed on contact. So the cascading updates that happen to the child record, means case record, those are not going to invoke triggers. Okay, so basically this update occurred as a result of merge process, and it was not a direct DML on the case record, and triggers will only occur for the direct DML. The first question also handled the same concept. Was it a direct DML? So here again, is it a direct DML on the case record? No. Then the trigger will not execute. Even if the condition is satisfied, your owner ID is updated, but is it a direct DML? No. It was a result of the merge process, merge of contacts. So the DML happened on contacts, but not on case record. That's why the trigger did not execute. Okay. Now if you want to capture these automatic updates happening on owner ID or any other field, then you can use again contact object trigger to query related cases before they merge, and then the log the ownership changes accordingly. So then there is a different way to do it, but your case trigger is not going to fire. Okay. If you want to read more about this scenario, you can check out this documentation, operations that don't invoke triggers. So these two questions are around these concepts. So the concept here is cascading updates of child records that are reparented as a merged result will not invoke the triggers. Okay, so you have list of all things which will not invoke triggers, and these are very important concepts. But if you know the concept, you can handle any scenario, any parent-child scenario. Okay. So the first question was account contact scenario, where accounts were deleted and contacts were also deleted as a result. Again, the cascading deletion is not going to invoke the trigger. And the second question was around updating the owner ID on the case. Again, the cascading update is not going to invoke the trigger. It should be a direct DML. Okay. Now the next question is, how does an after undelete trigger behave differently when a record is restored from a recycle bin versus it is undeleted via API? Means basically when you just write undelete in code or in flow versus when you restore it from the recycle bin. So it is going to be the same. Basically, after undelete trigger is going to fire even if you restore your record from the recycle bin. So for both things, even if you do via user interface or via API, you are just undeleting it. It's a direct operation. Then the after undelete trigger is going to fire. Okay, and it is going to behave the same way by firing after the record is recovered. Okay, so this is just to confuse you what will happen if it will trigger or not. It will get triggered. Okay. Then the next question is, what happens if you perform a database.rollback inside a trigger, and how does it impact other DML operations in the same execution context? So now database.rollback, we all know that it is going to revert the uncommitted transactions. But now try to understand this scenario. Okay, now you have this trigger. Okay, now this is your save point at the very beginning, and now you have some like custom exceptions just to simulate the failure, and you are throwing the exception, and in catch block you are doing database.rollback. Now till this point, so suppose if you don't have this add error statement, okay, till this point only if you write database.rollback, then the transaction will get reverted to this point. Okay, now new contact will not get inserted. So the first thing is, whatever you mention inside this will not happen. That will get reverted. This new contact called test is not going to insert because you are going to roll back it in the catch. But whatever made this trigger in the first place, so basically you inserted something and then this trigger was triggered, right? So that is not going to roll back. So if you just add rollback line, and if you don't have add error, then the triggering record will not get rolled back. Okay, only insert new contact will get rolled back. But if you add trigger.new.error, then the whole transaction is going to roll back, and it is going to roll back the triggering record also. So here the triggering record was some account record which triggered the trigger in the first place. So that is also going to get rolled back if you add this line, add error. Okay. So again, this question is very interesting, and it brings you the clarity of execution contexts and everything. So do remember this concept. So that's all for this video. If you have liked this video, please press the like button and subscribe to the channel. And for more inquiries around training sessions and mock interviews, you can reach out to me, and the details are in the description box. Thank you.